All right, I think we start, even though I expect from the responses I got that we will have some more attendees today. But if I may, I just give a brief introduction for those of you that are not familiar with the Hanseatic Blockchain Institute, who we are and where we are, and then we get to the content in a few seconds. So my name is Moritz Schild. I'm one of the founders and Vorstandsmitglieder of Hanseatic Blockchain Institute. We are a Verein under German law, and the good news is that everybody who is interested in support us and to develop the idea and to spread the blockchain idea, you can become a member of our Verein. And you just go to our website and click on Mitglied werden. For the time being, it's only in German. Our targets are, first of all, to connect the blockchain community in Hamburg and the surrounding areas, which I think we made quite good. We have quite a few blockchain startups here in Hamburg and the surrounding area that with us got introduced to investors, got introduced to people that are now working with them, and so on. And that's an important part. And the second aspect is that we believe that blockchain is something many people need to get aware of, to understand the opportunities, the changes that this technology, not only from a technical point of view, but from a ecological, economical, and then even from a social and psychological point of view, will bring across. And therefore we want to talk as much as possible with people from the community that have new ideas, that are developing new projects. And hopefully we want to contribute that existing corporations, that the kind of non-chained economy gets new ideas, new approaches, and that eventually we will be able to collaborate and to essentially figure out what blockchain can bring to us. That's essentially what I wanted to do as a short intro. Blockchain Institute was founded early in 2019, and since the very beginning, one of the things we brought forward is organizing this global Blockchain Monday. So essentially each and every Monday evening, we used to have a physical event here in Hamburg with speakers from a broad range, from startups, from lawyers, from technicians that explained about the storage of cryptocurrencies or data security issues related to blockchain. We talked about art and blockchain, how to buy art in little pieces from an interesting project from Paris. We had quite a lot on tokenization, of course, and I'm very happy that today we will be discussing about an interesting project. It's not so much a startup; it's much more an idea and a project, and that this is related not only to how can we make things more efficient and faster and more transparent. It's a little bit about how we cooperate to make things happen, and how the kind of the weight of developing our economy and our community is taken away from corporations and from the state, from the kind of monopolies, to something that's community based. That at least is my understanding of what Alex and Yip intend to do with their project at Unit Ventures. And just briefly, I mentioned earlier, we're using the webinar function of Zoom that leads to you seeing only the three of us as moderators, and you can't see each other, which for data protection purposes is maybe better. However, communication is not that proactive for you, and even for us. We like getting some feedback. So I would like to encourage you to actively use the chat function, or if you have specific functions, questions, please feel free to click on Q&A in English or F&A for Frage and Antwort in German, and then we'll see your questions, and then we can determine which one to answer at what point in time, and then we can mark them as answered, and everybody will see the answers, and so that should work quite well, I do hope. So that's the intro part, and if there are no other kind of admin issues from your side, I'd like to welcome all our attendees. Great to have you here tonight, and particularly Yip and Alex, who will, I think, briefly introduce themselves and tell you us a little bit about, and then afterwards we will have a discussion and of course Q&A in more depth. But please feel free if you have any questions that arise to just put them in the chat. Yip, Alex, usually you get applause from the audience when we do it physically. Now we are just happy to have you here, and floor is yours.
Hello.
We don't hear you, Yip. Okay.
Yes, welcome everybody. Very good to have you with us. I already saw in the chat Calvin from US introduced himself. Anybody else, please feel free to, just write where you come from and so on if you have any questions or what drove you here. It's just nice to know who we are speaking to so we can be more interactive. Moritz and I met a few weeks ago during an event from a school of which I'm an alum, of INSEAD Business School. And then we had a discussion about community and the potentiality that is within communities. And this is actually what Unit Venture is about. Moritz already said earlier, it's not a traditional startup. We are actually a project, and actually I would say we are even much more. We are a global movement. I'll get to that in a little bit. Just about my background, I studied business. I live in Munich, Vietnamese origin. My parents were both people who came after the Vietnam War to Germany, and I grew up. I was born and raised in the area of Stuttgart, lived a little bit abroad, worked for McKinsey, I worked at Rocket Internet because I wanted to understand better the economy and then the startup world. And I worked in some corporations. And all I'm caring about is a topic that has been very big passion of mine is to understand how to make economy more fair and more equitable to all people who have contributed to create value within the community, but not doing this in charity work. I've worked for some not-for-profit organizations, but rather using the systems, the mechanisms that we have in our current prevailing economic system. And how do we make it or structure it in a way where everybody who contributes in whatever way is being rewarded for their contribution, and not only a minority of the population. And with that said, I want to give the word to Alex, co-founder at Unit Ventures, to introduce himself too.
Yeah, hi everybody. Alex Burstein, also from Munich. So we kind of live in close proximity, relatively speaking, well, from Hamburg. I'm a lawyer and I've been working in fintech and blockchain sectors for the last 7 years. I'm kind of like a specialist, maybe a little bit more in the fintech area of things, but I also help Yip run Unit Ventures wherever I can, helping her out with my legal expertise, and also have a little bit of education background in data protection law and compliance. So I hope that I will be able to provide a couple of answers that to the questions that you undoubtedly might have in the course of the presentation. And please do feel free to ask your questions right away. We're more than happy to answer them in the course of the presentation. So in case there is anything that's unclear or you have any doubts with regard here to, just feel free to ask.
Okay, thank you very much, Alex. Should we get started with the presentation? And we too are just 2 members out of a team of more than 30 members. I cannot see your screen yet. Oh, perfect. Okay. So today we're speaking about the cooperative economy, and we will share using 4 examples of the way we kind of implement this new economy that we think of. Yeah, Alex, maybe. Exactly. So what we've been really caring about is to look at economy from a more global, holistic view. And there are many different problems that we can see, in particular since Corona has come over us. I think we all know that our economy has turned out to be very fragile. A lot of things are popping up that have been under the surface, that have been boiling under the surface for quite a long time, but now really we can see a different outcomes of a very fragile system so far. We are seeing, and this is not only ever since social distancing measures are coming up, that there is quite a lot of fragmentation in different communities all over the world. We are not seeing, global harmonized way of coordinating with each other. There's a lot of siloed thinking when you think of organizational structures. There have been a lot of problems of unemployment. We see it now. We can see it all over the world, even a bit more emphasized. And we have been seeing all over the world a problem of unemployment, in particular, for example, youth unemployment, not only in Spain and Italy for the past years. You can see it in the Middle East. You can see it in the country where my parents came from, Vietnam. A lot of young people, a lot of problems to find work in general, and also a lot of problems to find meaningful work, like doing the thing that you really care about and where you want to wake up in the morning and feel like, you invest your good lifetime into something that makes sense for yourself, for society, for the planet as a whole. And then, of course, we've been seeing, and this is not a new topic, that wealth distribution is a problem. It's a problem in the sense that we are seeing more and more that a minority of people are owning a lot of wealth and a majority not owning a lot. And I speak about these topics not in the sense of, communistic views or something like this. My own family history is when the communist or socialist took over in Vietnam, obviously everything was taken away from the family. So I'm just saying, not that you think, oh, now she's coming and speaking about, oh, we have to take away all the wealth and then give it to all the other in the world. This is not what we're talking about. We've been looking at ways of how we can actually use a blockchain economy, like blockchain technology and tokenization. And Alex will speak about that a bit later, to drive further, like to address these three kind of bigger problems that I've just been briefly touching upon. And what we're doing with Unit Ventures is looking into creating communities that are global, but that are local at the same time. We are creating an offering of marketplaces where people can become micro entrepreneurs and focus on doing the jobs that they want to do for the time that they want to give into the job. So kind of helping people to become their own entrepreneurs rather than just being employed with others, which is also fine. But we also see that the current models are not working out very well, given that there's so much economic unemployment all over the world. And we also want to create an environment, an economic system where people can team up and create projects easily and get funds raised easily to fuel the little projects they care about and where they think this is what the world is needing and this is what I want to, dedicate to our economy. So I will share about the first part of our three offerings. So in general, Unit Ventures has three main offerings. One, it's communities, then it's marketplaces. Alex will speak about that. And then it's our technology, the tokenization piece of it. And with regards to communities, we've been creating communities all over the world. Our ambition is to create communities, like local communities, where people can come together, like physically, and discuss topics that they care about. How can we create, different ways of working together in 200 cities all across the world? We've been organizing conferences online and offline in more than 30 cities. And we also have a project going on, I will share a little bit about it, where we basically show that this view of having this new world is actually not only an idea, but actually we are already putting it into practice. It's an innovation village that is built in Bali. So the city hubs. So as I said, we are planning to have 200 communities in the world, across 4 continents. We have already activated 32 cities where there's already small unit hubs. For example, tomorrow we will have a small community event in Munich. In Berlin, we've had one, and we're slowly building these up. And we have hubs like in Asia, Middle East, Africa, and Europe, and the Americas. And what we want to do is basically have these hubs, so whoever, when you're like in Hamburg right now, and you feel like, hey, you want to go to London and you want to meet with people and enter into a community of people who think similarly to you, you can just go into Unit London, and then you can see, what meetup is there and connect with the people. We have Telegram communities in each of these cities. And the community of like-minded people, how I'd call them, are typically by profile entrepreneurs, investors, experts from different fields, most likely people who think, the systems that we have created so far are not in some way working out optimally. But instead of saying that this needs to be all shut down and so on and so forth, basically people who are acting within these systems to make them better places. So it could be like technology, artists, and so on. So we have a YouTube channel also where we have more than 2,600 subscribers, where you can see the topics of the community members that are speaking about things that they care about, like, how do you have mental health, better mental health? How do you bring the arts in technology? How do you, I don't know, optimize university teaching and so on? So it's quite broad in terms of topics. And we have hosted like more than 2,000 live and online sessions in all these cities where we've been active. We've had more than 15,000 participants. We also have a platform where there's more than 15,000 participants registered. And what we plan to do is basically growing the community across the world, and having in 200 cities, basically every week, one unit event where people can just connect. Some kind of community organized events where we can basically come together and speak about topics we care about. And then I spoke earlier about our lab, let's say a real micro universe, where we put the unit into action. And this is a village in Ubud in the northern part of Bali, where basically we show how the economy that we envision to create can take place in a small environment. And we've built a innovation park. It's called Park, and it has 300 villas. And it's like the home where the people, like the community members, entrepreneurs, and so on, can come together, do co-working, can create community events. They can bring their families, they can live there. So there's yoga studios, a pool, restaurants, everything you need basically in a micro universe to co-create ventures together. And there's a nerd where you can bring your kids and basically be part and plug in and then create out of that. And we want to have this not only in Asia, but also in the Middle East, in the European area, region, and also in Americas. But Bali has been the first big milestone so far.
All right, so now I would like to take over. Thank you so much, Yip. That has been great. So I'll try to live up to the expectation as well. And we'll tell you a little bit about the technical background and about the infrastructure of the platform, so that you can maybe gain a little bit of a better understanding how Unit Ventures actually works and how we structure our marketplaces. So basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a transaction-based economy. We want to create a free exchange of goods and services based on the unit token. Unit token is a basic value that we would like to introduce as so-called economy basis for our connected and cooperative economic system that we would like to build in the future. And so unit token will be accepted everywhere as a universal payment measure. So far, we've already had over 15,000 transactions for products and services, and we're strongly hoping that we will be able to scale up this amount in the very near future, at least to a double, triple digits where we hope that those marketplaces will be established as a new standard of work and business cooperation. So basically, how do marketplaces work? We're trying to establish platforms where service providers and service seekers, also product providers and seekers, so buyers and sellers will meet and be able to exchange goods and services for payment with the token called unit token. So we do believe that this free exchange of tokens is something that we're hoping was what the market was looking for. And we truly believe that creating a universal token would be a solution to many problems that basic standard marketplaces are facing today. So we want to introduce this token as a new standard currency, as opposed to, let's say, the normal fiat currency that we're all used to, and introduce it in different sectors of new economy. We basically have already built 40 platforms, and we're hoping to build many more in the future. How are we planning to do it more down to earth? It's going to be something maybe very similar to Uber. So this is how we at least hope that it might work. Uber is basically a community of drivers, by now over 2 million drivers, with a turnover of $65 billion. So basically, our idea will be scaling up Uber onto a global scale, where we hope that people will kind of congregate in the same way that Uber drivers and Uber customers find each other. You would think at first, if you think about the idea of Uber, which is a great example, by the way, that it's actually insane letting somebody who you have never met before into your car and providing him with a ride to the destination where he wants to go. However, history shows that that has been a very, very successful model. And we kind of hope that this idea of actually trusting people that you have never met before might become an idea for the future. And we do hope that through Unit Ventures, we will be able to build something quite similar to it. Absolutely the same with Airbnb. Also over 20 billion evaluation, meaning you let somebody into your house who you have never met before, but who you still trust to stay in the house that you own and be your guest for a certain amount of time, just because you believe in the good of people. And this is actually the idea behind it. We do believe that people are good, that people want to work together and to cooperate for mutual benefit. So this is actually what we're trying to create. This is just to provide a very generic idea of what we're looking for. Yeah, this is just, again, a very basic, very quick synopsis, a very quick idea of what we're trying to introduce. We hope that a token will be a symbol of the evolution of crowdfunding. So basically, through our token, we do hope to gain certain value, to provide a certain value, both to service providers, also to the sellers of service sellers and product sellers in our platforms, and also to the buyers of products and services. So we do think that the tokens will kind of create a base for mutual cooperation between sellers and buyers, where both of them are kind of trying to create a common value, not just an individual value for the seller and for the buyer separately from each other, but where the value that will be created will be towards one common goal. And we would also like to emphasize that we believe that the employees of service providers and manufacturers are also very interested in becoming stakeholders in their enterprises and their companies. So we do think that a token like that, like ours, the unit token, will be able to provide them with this possibility where they actually become co-owners or stakeholders in their own companies that they work for. And this will also create a much stronger bond between a company and an employee, thus allowing a lot of people to actually feel differently about going to work, about their place of business, and about the market that they're active in. As Thy-Diep already mentioned, we're kind of like setting the goal of micro-entrepreneurship. So of course, our idea is not just to work towards big companies to provide an offer to large corporations. We do want people that are freelancers, that are working in the market that is not huge, but more tailor-made for their specific clients, maybe local market, maybe somebody who only caters to their local community. We want to allow them to become a micro entrepreneur on their own, just using the token. Basically, they wouldn't need much else than that. They would be able to create their own token. So for instance, each restaurant, each little store would be able to create their own token that they would be able to provide to their buyers, that would then exchange it for the goods and services that they can buy at this store or this particular freelancer. Yeah, now I really want to keep it very short. So just the technology of the unit token is quite basic. We're providing a utility token, so something that does not require the AML and KYC structures of a security token. So we're not planning on any STOs. We just want to provide people with a quite fast and simple solution. We do want to make it a basic cryptocurrency, maybe comparable to BTC and ETH. So Bitcoin and Ethereum, with regard to its popularity. Of course, it's a high-flying goal. We clearly understand that, but we're dreamers. You probably already understood that from the previous presentation. But the idea is that we want it to be as independent as Bitcoin and Ethereum with regard to its distribution. So we do not want to connect it to any kind of existing currency. We want it to have a value of its own. That's why I want to compare it to BTC and ETH. Of course, you will probably know that the crypto industry right now experiences a huge uplift. So the entire crypto industry has already a huge amount of tokens. And we do know that they have over 300 billion market capitalization. However, we do think that based on our concept, we will be able to gain a pretty significant amount of the market. And in the course of our activities, we hope that we will become a major player along with the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDT cryptocurrencies that you already see listed. We also would like to emphasize that that the unit token will allow freelancers and product and service offerers to create value for their product. So we think that this is an important part. They will be able to fundraise without having to turn to bigger investors. So we will allow them to actually collect money in a form of crowdfunding just using tokens, which we think is a significant advantage. Again, this is basically just like a very quick rundown of our platforms. Again, I did want to mention that we have over 40 platforms that are still going to grow. We basically have a large variety of topics that we currently offer. We have a boat platform, we have a party platform, we have a legal platform, we have a manufacturing platform, we have a fashion platform, design, IT development, yoga, coaching, which, for instance, Yip is our guru, I would say, to a certain extent. So she's leading that program. She will talk about it in a minute. But basically, we want to provide everyone who is active as in the service or in the manufacturing industry with a solution to finance their own project with the help of our tokens. And also, if they want a wallet for their tokens, we also want to offer that. So we will be able to provide them also with a technical solution where to store the tokens. And like just to finish up, we believe that we will also share successfully the fees that we're earning. We don't want to keep it all for ourselves. It's quite the opposite. We actually want to distribute the wealth, as previously mentioned, and we do provide customer referral fees and service fee shares to the people who refer us to further agents and people who would like to join Unit Ventures. And we're more than happy to provide them with the fees that they have deserved and earned. And we're more than happy to invite as many people as possible to become also a part of the core team, which is currently building up Unit Ventures. And we do hope that in the near future, we will have enough people on our platform to become one of the strongest players in the cryptocurrency markets.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Maybe this was like our quick run through a very big project. So let me just take a moment to recap so that we can, place you on the roadmap a little bit in the unit universe, and you can see where we're headed. And so we said in the beginning, or this was also the title of our talk tonight, it's about the cooperative stakeholder economy. So one of the big things we have heard, and I guess you have heard also when you followed the press, is that since the past few years, investors and in, for example, the World Economic Forum are talking about what they call the shift from shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism. Yeah, and the idea is, how do we basically allocate or make more people participate in the value that is created in the economy, in the capitalist economy? And so what we are basically doing is closing the gap between shareholder and stakeholder capitalism by two things, right? The cooperative part is we have incentives built on our marketplaces. So Alex said already earlier, there's something such as a coach find platform, a marketplace. I'm a coach myself, so I'm very excited about that. And you go on coachfind.org, you type in the city. I'm from Munich, so you would type in Munich, and then you get a list of providers that are on the coaching platform. And then you can just message them and you can book an appointment with them, and then you get the coaching session, and then you can pay them all in one marketplace, which is the CoachFind marketplace. And the cooperative part of the system works in a way that, let's say I charge 100 coach, that's the currency on the coach platform, which maybe we can say one coach would be €1. So I would charge €100 for the coaching service. And what is the cooperative part in that? So I, as a coach, I only receive €80, 80 coach, and 20 would be deducted. But where do these 20 in service fee go? And so this is what Alex said earlier, 50% goes into customer acquisition and provider acquisition. So we share the profits. Let's say Alex brought me onto the platform because he thought, yep, you're a good coach. So I want you on the platform. I want you to make a living like through the platform. So he brought me onto the platform. And now every time I create a coaching transaction that provides real market fundamental value, right? I did create, it's not only trading, but actually we created a service for society, coaching. And that service went through. So Alex gets a reward of €5, 5%. And then the person, and maybe let's say Moritz, booked the coaching. So he was the customer. So whoever brought Moritz onto the platform was a contributor to creating the value on the platform. So this person gets 5% too. So customer acquisition and a provider acquisition is given back to the community, because without their help, this transaction wouldn't have taken place. And then the other 5%, they go to the CoachFind platform. So that would be the earnings of the CoachFind platform, and that goes into, the technology and so on. And actually, we also have some very typical cryptocurrency models in there. We burn the profits so that it's unlike, traditional currencies. There's no inflation, but actually we have deflation mechanisms inbuilt into our currency supply for the marketplaces. And by this way, everybody basically who is either a token holder, so anybody who owns the tokens, and there is only a limited supply of tokens, 100 million, is becoming a person who benefits from the value created onto in our platforms. And this is quite a new idea, because there's different models on the market which are not like this. The current traditional system is not like that. And there's two examples for that. So one is, for example, you think about angel investment or VC investment. It's not that easy to become, an investor into a startup, let's say Uber, right? So whenever there's value created in the Uber system, that is created because drivers are driving people from A to B. But whenever there's value created when Uber was not public yet, and you and I couldn't easily just buy an Uber share, the value only went to those who basically gave money, the capital into the system, but not necessarily to the drivers, right? So this was one kind of systemic thing. We think it's not really cool. The second one is, and now this goes back to the liquidity that Alex talked about. It was when basically, for example, current crowdfunding campaigns can happen when, so let's say a startup wants to raise a little bit of money to do product development, to fund, you know, a little product or a restaurant that they want to open up. And what happens is you go on Kickstarter or something, you raise the funds, and then you do product development, and then this product is successful, and then it's being bought up by investors. And the problem is those who gave the first little contribution, like the €5, the €10, to contribute to making your little venture a success, don't necessarily benefit from that, right? Because all the value that is created is later assigned to those who had the right to buy basically into your venture. And that's typically some VCs or angels and so on and so forth. There's some regulation to that. And we find using tokenization technology, we can create a market where it's very easy for everybody to become a stakeholder and a supporter, an early stage supporter of little projects in local communities. So you and I could go and support Moritz's new restaurant or whatever he wants to open up, and we become a token holder of Moritz's restaurant. And then we can use it as a credit to pay for Moritz's favorite pizza that he created for Hanseatic blockchain community or whatever. So this is the idea behind it.
Just one moment, because we have a question from Olaf that actually I hope everybody can see it. I'm just going to move it for a moment. How do you
have to repeat it because participants do not see that. So
okay.
You have to repeat it, and then you can click on answer and so on.
Yes. So the question from Olaf is, how do you secure the quality of participants? So do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yes. So our marketplaces will be in the future run by experts from the market, from the industry, right? Let's say Coach Mind, I'm a coach, and then we will have a core team of 200 people. So it will not only be me leading these efforts, but over the world, we will have 200 coaches who become like the first seeding, the core team of the Coach Find platform. And because we are experts in kind of coaching industry, we would together design the principles of selecting coaches and interviewing them and making sure that our peers who join the coach service providing platforms are good for the community, right? So we also speak about what would be the right measure to qualify and to select participants, because we all own a stake, a token in the Coach Find platform. So we all have an incentive to make sure that the value is being uplifted rather than destroyed.
Yeah, maybe just a very quick addition. Thanks so much, you. But like, you know, we are kind of trying to achieve organic growth, meaning that we do invite absolutely everyone. We don't want to exclude anyone based on quality or more or less claimed quality requirements that we might put already at the beginning of the program. However, we do believe that a certain quality standard will ensure the booking of a certain entrepreneur more than of the other, because if somebody provides more value than someone else from the same sector, he probably will get booked more. So we truly believe that the market will work its way, meaning that the successful people, the people who provide quality work and quality services, will probably be booked more than people who are not. And this way, I mean, we don't want to exclude anyone, but people who provide quality services will probably just make more money off the platform. So that's our criterion.
Yeah, you have to be, in general, in order to be part of any of the marketplaces, you need to be invited by somebody who is already a member of the community. So that is like already a first, a very rough, you know, filtering mechanism. And then obviously we have all these things that the other platforms also have, like reviews. You can see who transacted, how much, and you can see who is linked to whom and so on. So basically you can also make your more informed decision in marketplaces like coaching nowadays, where everything is just mouth-to-mouth referral, basically. I want to speak briefly also about our strategy towards distributing the token and also helping our micro entrepreneurs on the different platforms succeed. So we are very aware that adoption of currencies, cryptocurrencies, is at the very early stage. We think it would take another, in general, the market would say it would take another 7 to 10 years until, you know, the market would be ready for mainstream adoption. We think if we are successful in what we're doing, we can reach that state already in the next 3 to 5 years, where it doesn't matter anymore if you own like how do you say, Swiss francs or unit or whatever. You're holding a wallet that has different currencies on it, and you can use them and just pay for the services all over where you need that. And one of our interventions to help drive adoption for the market in general, but also of course for our unit markets, is the Units Master Program. So every 2 months, we will start a new 6 weeks program. And this is kind of a vocational upskilling training for micro entrepreneurship. And it has 6 modules. So we help people understand what is the new economy, what is the value of blockchain technology, what are token economics, and so on. One module would be about very basic micro, like entrepreneurship fundamentals that you need to know when you want to do your business, and the module on branding, social media. How do you create your own brand so that people know that you are offering a service? And then one module would be on community building, because we said we want to have 200 cities with unit communities, right? And we want our micro entrepreneurs who are part of the unit community to be thriving in what they're doing and doing the work that they love. So we have to, together with them, learn how to create community. How do you create your own customer base? Because else you'll wait forever until customers find you. And I don't think that is a viable business strategy, right? And then we have also a module on scaling. How do you scale your business? Because it's nice to have a marketplace, but then if you don't know how to make business bigger, then you won't be able to pay your rents with that. So we have to think economically. And then the final part, I'm very happy about that final part, we also have a module on well-being, because we know, like, you know, scaling a business, growing a business is quite stressful, can be quite stressful. So we also have integrated a module on how do you keep a calm mind while you are scaling up your business, your service business, and become a thriving entrepreneur on like the marketplace. And this we will do every 2 months. We will launch a new cohort. Our first cohort is launching in November. We aim at having 100 participants, and we're almost fully booked. The program is free of cost, but the way you are eligible for it is you have to hold $100 worth of tokens in your wallet. And then for the second batch, which will start in January, we will have 500 participants, and then we'll scale up to 1,000 participants in March, and then double it every 2 months from there. So by that, basically, we ask our participants, our service providers, also to help find new members. And what we have to do on our side is, of course, making sure that the platforms, like the marketplaces, are working well, that they are able to help you find new customers. And of course, that our master's program makes sense, right? Because if it's not of use to anybody, nobody will refer the program further. So that's our internal KPI, to see if we're doing a good job or not in creating this new stakeholder economy. And with that said, I am open to any questions you may have. This was a lot of different things in a very short time, so I hope we didn't overwhelm you.
Great, thank you, Alex. So when I first of all heard of your project, and I do very much like the underlying idea of blockchain to make the intermediator kind of no more necessary, and then to replace a system by something that's peer-to-peer. But most projects that drive into this direction are set up by a company that essentially says, okay, we are going to bring a solution to the place, and we build the platform, and then everybody can use our platform and buy our token and indirectly we of course will generate profits. And for the unit project, if I understand correctly, there is no company, there's no corporation yet. It's just a team of people, and it's a token, and then there's the idea of building the community that uses unit. Is that correct?
Yes, I'll give the word to Alex to share more about that. Alex, if you want, and maybe you can also close the presentation so we can see everybody in. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Unit is actually a pretty unique organization. We absolutely do not have any kind of corporate background. We are a team of 35 people. And you should not judge by you and myself being both from Munich that everyone is concentrated around Bavaria. This is actually not a very typical case where two people are from the same city or from the same area. I think we have probably 20 countries. I don't know, what do you think? Probably between 20 and 25 countries. So I would say that it's truly just the people who really care about changing the way that we are now driving our local and global economy, that really care about the future of globalization going the right direction. It's really people who know quite a bit about blockchain and about tokenization, who have found a possibility to maybe really make their voices heard. It might sound a little bigger than a regular project, but we do believe that it has quite a bright future. And the people who are actually currently already participating, not even necessarily as members of the core team, but just as supporters, are really truly amazing, because we have a chat room in Telegram where people get regularly invited. And I myself am shocked every time when I see just like how important and how active the people are who just want to join and who are actively participating in Unit Ventures, being invited by Michael, who is one of our first organizers or first core members. And therefore, I do think that this project is quite the opposite of the normal corporate venture capital or corporate venture strategy. We are truly a grassroots movement, so we are people that are interested in key questions of globalization, of blockchain as the tool to improve the future of our global economy, and we're trying to create a solution that is quite practical for everyone who is interested in it.
But for me, who is coming from a corporate background, at some point in time, the question arises: so who are the decision-making bodies? I mean, if there needs to be decisions to be made, which platform is going to be launched at what time, how to prioritize, how to have new policies if we figure out that policies are needed. Who will be the one to take these decisions? And are there guidelines for that, or are you just waiting until it comes to a decision and then you just put it in the chat room and figure out who's?
We are quite organized, right? So we do have this core team. Every week we're meeting twice to discuss these kinds of strategic questions. The core team is limited to 100 seats. And so every core team member is also is owning tokens. So we don't get a salary, but we have tokens in that project. And the core team members typically speak about how do we want to, set up the different things. There are some key principles that are already agreed on. We have a 100 million token supply. Right, for the unit. We will have a burning mechanism, or we have a smart contract burning a mechanism on it. And so the core team members are typically the ones also who like now designed the master's program. So obviously this didn't come from nowhere, and obviously people have different views. So we do decide on things together in a very structured, I would say in a very structured way, considering it's everybody not being paid for doing what we're doing right now. So this is, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Moritz, I just wanted to take a very quick moment, because we do have 2 questions right now in the FA. So I wanted to take a very quick second to answer those, if that's okay with you guys.
Sure.
First question coming from Friedrich is, what about the people who do not want to become entrepreneur or a micro-entrepreneur? Are they neglected in your future concept? I'm going to be very brief here. They're not neglected, and that's why I specifically mentioned that we do want the employees of the company. So if you're working for somebody, let's say for a corporation, I want you to kind of feel as a part of a global organization in a true sense of the word, instead of just like a little screw in the big machine. I want you to feel that you have your own tokens, you participate with your tokens in the global economy just as much as the CEO of your company does. So everyone who wants and intends to own tokens can easily do that, no matter whether he wants to become an entrepreneur or stay an employee. It doesn't matter, because we're more than happy to include you, even if you don't plan to become an entrepreneur in the near future. And the second question is a little bit bigger. It's how big do you see the risk of governmental regulation killing the idea of cryptocurrencies? Yeah, taking the opportunity here as a lawyer, actually not big. I think that, like we've all seen recently, that the EU, for instance, has actually published the new guidelines with regard to the platforms and marketplaces in the crypto market. We have seen that there is quite a bit of intention to incorporate cryptocurrencies and crypto technology into the future projects that the governments are working on. So for instance, as an example, I know that in Switzerland, for instance, now it is allowed to pay your taxes in BTC, so in Bitcoin, if you prefer to do so. So I do think that cryptocurrencies will definitely become more and more relevant in the market. I do not see the tendencies that the cryptocurrencies are going to be killed. I personally do not believe that.
If I may briefly add to that, we recently had a discussion about the new EU proposals on that, and you may be aware that the EU proposal is essentially saying each and every new issuance of token will need to have an issuer that needs to comply to certain standards, and so if there is no corporation that kind of signs the documents as a corporation, then so Bitcoin would not be prohibited under the new EU rules. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, but again, I do think that we do see quite a bit of a number of service providers that try to organize platforms that help cryptocurrency organized platforms with their AML, with their KYC requirements, with their regulatory requirements. I do believe that a lot of law firms are concentrating on cryptocurrencies as potential clients. So I do think that the industry is kind of adjusting to cryptocurrency enterprises as potential clients. So I do think that there would be a way to figure out how to promote your business, even if you are facing some problems now with regard to the official regulations that the EU has issued recently. Okay, and the last question. I don't know if it's the last, but this is the last that I have on my screen. Great to hear about the micro entrepreneur program and excited for a team on the projected growth. You touched on this over the course of the presentation, but what obstacles or barriers to growth exist in Germany and to the expansion in use of blockchain and for unit ventures specifically? Yep, that's maybe something that you can answer. I know that you have tried to grow your business successfully, and you have succeeded. So maybe you can tell us about your positive experience.
Well, just up front, we are not only operating in Germany, but in 200 cities all over the world, right? Barriers to growth. One very big barrier is obviously people would need to buy into the currency in order to use it, right? If nobody has unit tokens, then the money is not circulating in the economy. But we made it very easy for you to top up. So just think about topping up iTunes credit in the app for your iTunes store, for the App Store. So use your credit card, you go onto our Coach Find platform, and then you can just buy, like, using the Visa card, buy some unit tokens and then you can use them freely. So one way of thinking about it is, in the future, it should be so simple for you to pay in general, not only with unit tokens, but with all kinds of tokens, that it's just another question of, like, when you go to the store or buy something online nowadays, you can use PayPal, you can use Visa, MasterCard, all these kinds of payment providers. It's just the technological stuff, but what you need to do is just click on pay and use a service provider of your choice, right? So the entire industry is needing to move toward making it seamless for the user. So the user doesn't have to make a very conscious decision what kind of payments he uses as a barrier. A second one is obviously the education part. People don't know much about the place. You read a lot of bad press in the media and so on. So we are doing I think a very important role, or it's going to be crucial not only for us as Unit Ventures, but for the entire industry, to educate and to create awareness. And we are not only doing this master's program, we're working, with universities. So right now we're planning some cooperation with MIT and Harvard, for example, to publish some papers on the stakeholder economy. So we're working on high level with different institutions to bring awareness about the project. In Germany, or actually for Europe, I'm working with the Frankfurt School of Finance, for example, to create a blockchain mentoring program that starts in November 2. So we educate female leaders, or female talent, to become experts in the blockchain. Why? Because, for example, we realized that only 5% of people in the entire blockchain industries roundabout are female. And if we believe that blockchain technology is the future, and even tokenization is the future, we would want the future to be created equally, right, by 50% of the population too, and not only by 5%. So what we're doing, not only within Unit Ventures, but all the members of Unit Ventures are trying to build the ecosystem. So not only use the ecosystem, but what we're doing is really getting the hands dirty to create awareness about the benefits of tokenization, going back into really educating people about the potential of it, building education programs like the master's program or the Frankfurt School Blockchain Center peer-to-peer program that we just called DLT talent, and so on, so that people have a choice to jump in before it's too late to jump in, to be very honest. Because at one point in time, even if in Germany people don't care about blockchain, or we think about regulation, other markets like China are actually not caring about what we're doing here in Germany, right? So even thinking competitively, we do have to invest about education awareness.
Valid point. You mentioned that you want to make it very easy to buy unit token.
Yeah.
However, if people need to accept unit token to be paid for the services at some point in time, they need to pay their rent. Are you already setting up a secondary market where you can kind of get euros or US dollars for your token, or is that for the unit token, or what's the plan for that?
We do have that. So one of the marketplaces is actually dedicated to that, but I'll let Alex speak about it just because he's more familiar with how to use that in financial terms.
We do offer a possibility to exchange the unit tokens for cryptocurrency. So we do offer this possibility. However, this is not the basic idea, and you're exactly right on the money that this is truly a problem that we will need to solve, I believe, on a more global scale. So we don't even want to offer you any kind of like half answers. This is absolutely true, but this is a problem, I think, of cryptocurrency in general, that as you previously mentioned, we'll just need to wait a couple of years till this really becomes like a universal payment method. So as of now, we do understand that the tokens are more kind of like a virtual payment tool that is not universally accepted. We clearly understand that. There are obviously a lot of mechanisms to use it as real money, so you can exchange it for cryptocurrency that you can then trade at an cryptocurrency exchange. But this is not what we want people to do. We want people to actually be able to think in those terms, to be able to accept this currency. This currency as something that has a lot of value, as something that is not just, like €100 is €100 because the Central Bank of Germany or the European Central Bank has confirmed it. We want our token to be valued for the cooperative value that is inside it, so that people agreed that this is worth so much in services that can be bought for this token. So this is basically the idea that we want to propose in the near future. But as of now, you're exactly right. We probably would encourage people to have maybe other sources of income until that becomes a mass phenomenon.
If I understand you correctly, you mentioned that clearly that you want to set up a global community, and there was recently a transaction where the Munich-based Burda Medien bought into a startup called I think nebenan.de, so that's nextdoor.de, because they have the same idea, whenever from a totally different perspective from my point of view, that owning or be having a platform that communities use might be of value. However, their approach is pretty much become, first of all, member of a local community with your neighbors, because you have something in common automatically because you live in the same area and you can easily exchange whatsoever. Which might be a smart business model, and if Burda decided to buy it, then maybe it's not too bad idea economically. So your approach from the very beginning is become part of one single global community, where ultimately I will be one single member out of a million, and maybe there are only 5 or 10 of them I really want to be in touch with, and all others I have not so much in common. Is it a valid approach to say, why do you start going global with something that maybe just builds up from a kind of local base?
We are not necessarily asking you to become a global currency and so on, right? This is also the idea of having industry tokens, like the coaching platform. Say, like, if I'm a coach and I care about coaching, I would rather invest into projects that foster coaching, right? And the idea is not that I only hold coaching tokens, but I diversify my investments. So I have Moritz tokens because I care about, I don't know, your projects. I have Alex tokens because I care about what Alex does. I have my neighbor's nebenan token because I care about what they do. But in everything, I just hold a little share, and everybody does the same. So we're creating the social fabric of people who want to choose of where they want to put a little bit of their, their money, and become micro supporters of everything they care about. And then there are things that they care about more because they are linked to things that they are very passionate about. You could even think of FC Bayern issuing an FCB token, and the fans, just buy FCB tokens instead of buying tickets to single games or the annual memberships. So the idea is you really not limited to just the global thing, but it can be global and local at the same time. So this is basically the bigger idea behind it, that you can go global, because for some things you need global scale. It's too fragmented if you only think locally. Some things you would think industry-like, and some things you just think local economy. So even one local, very local thing could be that just, the local, let's say Werk 1 in Munich, or like this is a co-working space for entrepreneurship. They have their own token, and we can buy into it, and we can support the local entrepreneurs in creating the products there. So it's not restricted to only global projects.
Let's stick to your example of FC Bayern being interested to set up a tokenized community that uses the token as an exchange. Maybe they are already having this idea, and they currently intend to talk to corporations that provide tokenization services, and maybe to have a wallet provider, software as a service or something like that. So they're currently talking to commercial entities that would possibly or presumably be able to provide them with support for their project. Why should FC Bayern think to that unit? Because unit would support this, would set them up a marketplace, would help them generate their own token, which is, however, on your platform, right? Or what would be your kind of value proposition towards FC Bayern?
We actually had this discussion, not with FC Bayern, unfortunately, yet, but with similar players. But I want to let Alex speak about it because he knows more about it.
Well, the basic idea is that what we're trying to do is to create a bond between the club and the fans. So we do strongly believe that this idea of being what I talked about before, if you're an employee, you need to feel a stronger bond towards your employer. I think the relationship between the fans and the club might be somewhat similar. So meaning that if Bayern issues FC Bayern tokens, specifying that the fans can actually own a small percentage of FC Bayern, or they can use the tokens as an entry ticket to get to the games, or to exchange the tokens for maybe some kind of merchandise. I do think that this will create a stronger bond between the club and the fans, and this is why we believe that obviously there's no problem with going to the commercial providers, commercial token providers, and they are thriving. We totally understand that they have a very successful, very profitable business model. Our idea is different. Our idea is creating a somewhat simplified, a somewhat basic bond between the entity and its fans. That's what Diep was saying before. Like, she likes my project, she buys Alex tokens, and that's exactly the same. You like FC Bayern, you buy FC Bayern tokens. So the idea basically remains absolutely clear and, I believe, understandable for everyone. Whatever you like, whatever you're a fan of, you just buy those tokens and you buy services and goods that you like and that you actually want to promote. You just use your tokens for that. So that's the idea behind it. We're not saying that we don't want to generate profit with it. What we're saying is that first, we want to create a community of fans, of people who like a certain product or service, like FC Bayern, for instance. And then coming from there, we do believe that there is a large portion of profits for FC Bayern to be gained.
Right, yeah. Got it. Okay, yeah. So Arvid is just sharing, and I will put that in the so everybody can read it. Clubs that use tokenomics to link or to bond with their fans. And I truly believe that this is something that is likely to be.
No, and we're not saying that we're like, and I know there's Chile's, there's actually I do know that Atletico, Juventus, PSG, they all already have fan tokens. We understand that this is like not something that we came up as a super exclusive idea, but we do believe that the connection or the basic bond between the club and the fans as a general idea, it's not just exclusive to sports, but I do think that it's also very, very usable in every aspect of life.
That's a very good Schlusssatz, ehrlich gesagt. We have reached the end of our intended time slot, and don't see any further questions. And I do hope that everybody took some food for thought, not only about the project itself, but maybe even as much on what is the future of ideas, and maybe are we ready from our mindset to accept that we are not saying we create a new startup that is providing services to other by helping them building platforms. I mean, that's the kind of old community, and the new concept is to say we are a group of people and we have common values and common ideas, and we want to get larger, and then we use blockchain technology as a means of exchange within our community to ultimately build something that, however, needs to be based, I believe, on common values. And then it kind of gets political at some point, possibly, and then keeping a set of values that are accepted by the entire community might be something tricky. And if you don't have a kind of clear internal governance rules, and you just say there's a group of 100 people that will decide about everything, I think that's something that might be challenging, setting up a community with no kind of rules and no laws, so to say. Good. Okay. Thank you for your time, Alex. Yip, thank you to all attendees for joining us, and wishing you a wonderful week, a wonderful evening, and see you next Monday, everybody who wants to be there. Tschüss. Vielen Dank.
Thank you.
Danke. Tschüss.
Have a great time.